Hey folks, welcome to the channel Rockin' the Country. I'm Don. I'm doing another gift request from Jacob Herricks for September 11th. And Jacob, thank you for the gift for me to do this. You had made a comment when you made the donation that you're not sure if I would do two on the same day of yours, and I will, because it's appropriate. Normally when I get multiple requests from somebody, you know, maybe somebody will donate like $75 or whatever for me to do 3 songs. I'll do one on each of 3 consecutive days. This is time sensitive, and there's no hard and fast rule on this. If you want me to do them on the same day, I will. And obviously, I'm going to do this. So, Darryl Worley's "Have You Forgotten?" I haven't. Being in New Jersey here, I'm in the shadow of it. It was right there. I mean, you could pretty much see the smoke. So let's see what we've got. I'm not going to rate this. Have You Forgotten? I don't know this song, by the way.
I hear people say we don't need this war, but I say there's some things worth fighting for. What about our freedom and this piece of ground? We didn't get to keep them by backing down. They say we don't realize the mess we're getting in. Before you start your preaching, let me ask you this, my friend. Have you forgotten how it felt that day to see your homeland under fire and her people blown away? Have you forgotten when those towers fell? We had neighbors still inside, going through a living hell. And you say we shouldn't worry about Bin Laden. Have you forgotten? They took all the footage off my TV, said it's too disturbing for you and me. It'll just breed anger, that's what the experts say. If it was up to me, I'd show it every day. Some say this country's just out looking for a fight. Well, after 9/11, man, I'd have to say that's right. Have you forgotten how it felt that day?
I'm just going to pause for a second. Man, a gentleman I knew through work, my former work, he worked at Cantor Fitzgerald's, which was on, I think, the second of the top floor, right below Windows on the World. I was up 100th floor, something like this, of the Twin Towers. And I think there were 60 partners at Cantor. I think all but 1 or 2 died. And my friend was one of them who didn't, because he had been at, he didn't. He was elsewhere the night before and wasn't in the office that day. Otherwise, he too would have lost his life. But the number of funerals and services that he went to in the ensuing months was virtually every day. He had a different service, and they didn't find the bodies of most of these people. So the families just didn't have anything to bury or not anything. It just was, they were pulverized basically. No, I haven't forgotten that. You don't forget stuff like that.
See your homeland under fire and her people blown away. Have you forgotten when those towers fell? We had neighbors still inside, going through a living hell. And we vowed to get the ones behind Bin Laden. Have you forgotten? I've been there with they're fighting for. Have you forgotten all the people killed? Yes, some went down like heroes in that Pennsylvania field. Have you forgotten about our Pentagon? All the loved ones that we lost and those left to carry on. Don't you tell me not to worry about Bin Laden. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten?
Yeah, the sight of the Twin Towers, you know, obviously before they fell, you know, the photographs and such were just beautiful. I mean, they were part of the skyline. And when the Twin Towers were built, people were like, oh, it's an abomination. They look terrible. There's nothing creative about them. But they became part of the skyline. It's what you associated New York with, especially when you went from Jersey through the Holland Tunnel and even the Lincoln. I mean, because you would see it off to your right as you were driving up to the Lincoln, which would drop you off at like in the 40s, 40th or 42nd Street. When you took the GW, the George Washington Bridge, you could see them way down in the distance, but not as prominently because the GW is like northern Manhattan, put it that way. It's up, you know, above Harlem. So it was part of the skyline. And when it was no longer part of the skyline, it's to try to put things in perspective. You can't. I mean, it's just, you can't comprehend that level of loss, not just as a building, but the building represented the people and the activity in the city and the country, and in many ways the world, because it was in the financial district. And it was buildings 1 and 2 of 7 that comprised the World Financial Center. And just to have them gone. And now the new one, obviously, the Freedom Tower, part of the skyline again, and we have that, but the lost people suffered. And, you know, I don't know. War is brutal, but it's like Merle said about some squirrely guy who says he just doesn't believe in fighting. And it's like, well, I understand you don't want it, but sometimes you have to. You know, you don't want to fight somebody, but if somebody says something to your wife or does something to your kids that warrants it, you're gonna. You don't want it. You don't wake up in the morning and say, hey, I hope to get into a fight with somebody. But you also, anybody who's vulnerable is going to be taken advantage of. And if you don't fight, you're going to be vulnerable. And in any case, I mean, Jacob, thank you for that. This is just in honor of those who lost their lives. The prior video of Alan Jackson's I did was in my FDNY hat. This is in my NYPD hat. So there it is, folks. Remember, I'll see you on another video.